Welcome to Lesson 5, The Gray Wolves. Take a moment to read through these questions and answer them on a sheet of paper. Hit pause on the video, and when you are ready, hit that play button again and we'll go over them. All right, the name of the block that we use to make loop is the repeat block. Okay, and nested loops are loops within loops. In today's lesson, you are actually going to have nested loops, 3 of them. True or false, it's important to know the sequence of events before building a loop. Absolutely. Playing that pseudocode on a piece of paper, it will help you tremendously. And the difference between a repeat loop and a conditional loop is that a repeat loop will simply repeat it. However, with a conditional loop, a condition must be met or be true in order for that loop to repeat. And like I said, this is lesson 5 of our coding fundamentals in Minecraft Education Edition, and we are working in the Gray Wolves world. We are going to be continuing working on our coding concepts of loops and nested loops. In order to complete a task, we will need to debug our code and embrace that coding mindset, meaning that when we make a mistake, we simply try again until we get it. Let's do a quick review of our important vocabulary. We've talked about all of these items already in lessons 1 through 4. A loop is a structure that repeats a set of instructions until it is told to stop. Our nested loop is a loop within a loop, and a conditional is an action that occurs if something specific happens. We have a new coding block today that we'll be using in this lesson, and it's the while. It repeats the code if a defined condition is met. And specifically in today's lesson, we're going to take a look at the not inside of this loop, because if there's not a block in front of our agent, then we're going to have our agent do something. Okay, so we want something to not be true, hence that not portion inside of our loop there. We have received reports of a wolf pack hanging around a nearby farm. The farmers are concerned that the wolves will attack their livestock. We need to help secure the livestock in a safe way to protect the livestock and the wolves as well. We will continue to work with the loops and nested loops. Today we will add in a conditional that will cause the agent to be selective, make choices, and take action based on a certain condition. This is our spawn point, the location where you begin gameplay. Notice Dr. Barwin. Dr. Barwin has a message for us to help us get started. Remember, if you see that slider bar on the right-hand side, you can slide it up and down to be sure to be able to read the whole message. Remember, if you want to have the message read to you, you click that little icon in the lower right-hand corner. That is our immersive reader, and it will read it to you. When you are ready, after you've read all of Dr. Barwin's message, click the I'm Ready button as shown in the screen. Wolves love chickens, so we need to program the agent to reinforce the fence around the chicken coop to make sure the wolves can't get in. The fence needs to be higher to keep the wolves from jumping over the fence. Open up your code builder and you will see the message task up at the top. You will need to build a fence around the chicken coop. There's already one there, so we need to build it a little bit higher. So we're going to have our agent put down our fence and work our way around that chicken coop. Now when we do this, we'll want the agent to lay 9 panels of our fence, turn, and then repeat that. Since there's 4 sides around our chicken coop, we'll need to repeat that 4 times. And then we'll need to have our agent move up so we can lay the next row of the fence and repeat that code again. Remember, if you don't get this the first try, that's perfectly normal. Use the radio button to reset the activity so that your agent moves back to the original starting place and also removes that fence that you laid when you didn't quite get it correct. That's okay, that's normal. I'm going to mention that radio again. If you don't get it correct the first time, reset that code by using that radio to reset the activity. You will not lose your code. It'll simply undo what you did on the screen here. And of course, once you're successful, you will see that activity complete sign. To get to your next coding activity, you'll need to walk over to the next area. For our next coding activity, we need to move our agent over to where the gold pressure plate is. So we'll need to navigate our agent, but instead of counting blocks, we're going to have our agent walk as long as there's no blocks in front of him. So if you take a look at our screen here, we'll have our agent walk forward until it hits that wall. Once it hits that wall, we'll want to turn left. And then we'll have our agent walk forward until it hits the next wall. And this will continue. But the thing is we won't always turn left. You'll have to kind of plan it out on a sheet of paper. Once you have that pseudocode planned out on a piece of paper, head on into your code builder and you'll see that there's some starter code provided for you. The starter code actually tells you that while there's no block in front of your agent, then the agent will move forward 1. Once it realizes there's a block in front of it, notice that agent turns left. Now, again, it won't always be left. We'll probably have to turn right in here as well. Take a look at your pseudocode. That should tell you whether it's left or right. I would copy that green while portion of the code and paste it underneath and kind of repeat that until we are able to make it to the gold block. Remember, if you don't get it right the first time, reset with that radio so your agent heads back to that starting point and make changes to your code by debugging it and try again. Remember, during the debugging process, you may have to make changes several times until you get it right. Take note of where the mistake happens so that you can find it back in your code. Use that radio to reset when you need to. When you finish off your code, the agent's path should look like the screen on the right. So notice when I had started off talking about the code, I said your agent will move forward until it reaches a block in front of it, and then it turns left. Notice the next pile that it hits is a pile of hay blocks, and our agent would turn right. And again, our agent moves forward until it hits that next hay pile, turns right, moves forward again until it hits that next hay pile, and it turns left, and then we can just move forward until we walk over that gold block. Okay? If you get stuck, reset that activity by using that radio button. Hazing is a great way to keep the wolves away. Hazing means to make loud noises or motions to keep wolves away from the hunters. Setting up bells around the property will make loud noises and keep the wolves from entering. We are going to program the agent to finish setting up the tripwires. So again, open up that code builder and it gives you some hints up there at the top. I will tell you that we need to lay those tripwires going down, not in front of us, but down, because we want them down on the ground. So that was one of the mistakes I made when I tested out this activity. Let's review our coding concept of conditionals, what it means. The agent will be selective or make choices and take action based on the specified conditions. So let's think about this. Imagine you are taking a walk outside to pick flowers. This time you have decided to only pick daisies. As you walk, which is one action, you are picking flowers, another action. If you see a dandelion, do not pick it. If you see a daisy, then you pick it. So that condition is, if it's a daisy, pick it. If it's not, don't. So he's got to make a decision based off of that. And of course, once we go to get our code correct, we'll see that activity complete sign. By the way, when you walk over that tripwire, you should hear the bell ring. All right, so now we're on to our fourth coding activity. This one requires a little bit of thought here. So wolves are stealthy ambush hunters, which means if they don't have the ability to surprise their prey, they will look somewhere else to hunt. We need to program the agent to remove the foliage in this area. So take a look at your agent on the screen. So the agent is going to move forward and destroy the foliage here. And then he's going to need to turn right and destroy some more. And then he needs to move forward, turn right, and then he can do that next strip. So he's going to move up and down that foliage until it's all destroyed. This one is a little tricky to program. So remember, if you need to reset this activity, use that radio key. When you open up the coding activity, remember, Up at the top, it gives you some hints to get started, and if you get really stuck, use that little light bulb feature. With this activity, you may need to do that. It took me a couple tries to get it right. I suspect it will you as well. Remember to keep that coding mindset in that when we try it, and if we see a mistake in our code, we work on debugging it and we try again and we repeat this process until we get it correct. Remember to test out your code when you are ready, and don't be afraid to keep testing again and again until you get it right. And of course, once you do have it right, you'll see that lesson complete sign. Let's recap lesson 5. What you've done today. We've used the coding concepts of loops, nested loops, and conditionals to complete tasks. We tested and debugged our code, and we embraced that coding mindset of try, and try again. Now that we've completed lesson 5, let's answer our reflection questions. Pause the video and answer these on a scrap piece of paper. When you are ready, press that play button again and we will go over them. The agent detect block will detect whether or not there's a block in front of the agent or not. A conditional tests whether something is true or false. What is it called when we repeat code over and over? Well, that's our loop, and we use that repeat block to do a loop. And can the agent hold its own inventory? Absolutely, yes, he can. He can hold his own blocks and such. In fact, we've needed to use that in our code. Thanks for watching.